We're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. We are here for the next 30 minutes talking all about building community during social distancing. If you have not already, please enable your cameras. That is one way that we can feel a little bit more like a community here today. And if you haven't gotten one, please either have a blank piece of paper or an open Word or Google Doc ready to go. We'll be doing a little bit of written reflection throughout our time together today. All right, my name is Ashford Duffy. I am the Director of Education Opportunity at MindSpark Learning. My email is listed here. I will list it again at the end. I mean it when I say please reach out to me if you want to talk further about this topic, collaborate, ask questions. I would love to work with you. Additionally, you'll see this blue bit.ly link at the bottom of the screen. That is a link to a toolkit that has a plethora of resources, articles, videos, and things like that that will support you on your journey to building community during social distancing. So go ahead and feel free to open that up. My wonderful colleague Kiki has added it to the chat. She'll be adding links to the chat throughout, and you can also chat her if you need any support or have any questions. So a few norms to make sure our virtual time together is the best it can be. Please do stay muted unless you're sharing aloud, just prevent some background noise. Please enable your camera just so we can feel a little bit closer, especially when we head to breakout rooms toward the end of our time, and just actively engage and have fun. You'll see throughout our time a few icons on different slides to help indicate how you'll engage. So the first, the speech bubbles, that's an indicator that you'll type into the chat. The second, the talking head, that's an indicator that you'll unmute and talk aloud. And then the third, the paper and pencil, that's an indicator that you'll either write on that piece of paper or type into that Google Doc that you've opened up for yourselves. So no matter what hat you're wearing today, maybe it's a lot of different hats, you're a parent, you're an educator, you're a school leader, you're just a conscientious community member, I want you to think about how the content that we're about to engage in applies to you and your role in the hat that you're wearing. That is my challenge to you as we do this work together. So our outcomes for today are twofold. One, identify strategies and tools for building community during social distancing and develop some personal commitments that build community while maintaining physical distance. So let's dig into a few how-tos of how we can build community during this time of social distancing. The first how-to is to seek out your communities. So go to the chat now, and I just want you to list out what communities do you belong to. As you're chatting, I'll name a few of the communities that I belong to. I belong to my work community, my family, I'm in a 90s cover band, I belong to the community of my neighborhood. List out all of the different communities that you belong to. So I see yoga, absolutely, a lot of fitness communities, church, dance, working with your students, a trivia group, that's so fun. Different clubs, choir, ooh, very cool. Orchestra, trivia teams, nursing groups, school, family, friends, yeah, keep them coming. So we all belong to a number of different communities. And during this time of social distancing, we can really be grieving that connection to those communities that we value so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a few of the communities that I belong to, as well as some ideas for and practices of ways that either I or I've witnessed others build community. So one community I belong to is obviously my friends and family. And so I'm going to share some plugged, some virtual, and some unplugged ways that we can build community during this time. So one app, if you're not familiar, is called House Party. It's free. It's so fun. You can get a group of people on there, and it's sort of like a group FaceTime, but there are games that are in the app. So you can play Heads Up or you can play trivia. So consider downloading that House Party app and having your friends and family do the same so you all can get together. An unplugged thing that my family is doing is, now that we have a little extra time on our hands, my dad's side of the family is putting together a family scrapbook. So we've all started sending pictures to my Aunt Teresa and my Aunt Dot, along with stories and memories. And so that's one way that we can stay connected to our family during this time. Another community I belong to is my neighborhood. And so if you're not familiar, the app Nextdoor is a great app to stay connected to the people in your vicinity, in your neighborhood. Lets you know what folks are up to. So you can see some just positive, uplifting messages, goings on in the neighborhood, any ideas for safe, socially distant ways to connect. So consider downloading that app. It is also free, and it's a great way to stay in touch with your neighbors. Something else that we've seen, and I have a bear in my window right now, is a lot of neighborhoods are putting bears and different stuffed animals in their windows for kids who are going on a bear hunt. So they're taking walks with their families and their pets, and they're trying to spot different stuffed animals and bears in the windows as they go on that bear hunt. So if you have a stuffed animal laying around, just throw it in the window, and that's one way that you can stay connected to your neighborhood. Another community that I belong to is my workplace. So I used to work for a wonderful school in New Jersey called Kip Spark Academy. And one of my former colleagues there, he's been hosting daily dance parties where kids can tune into his Instagram live feed and they can dance it out in their living room or their bedroom, wherever they are, and just feel connected to their friends that they're missing so much. Something that my workplace at MindSpark is doing is one of my colleagues, Carol, has started a recipe exchange. So even though we can't be together in the office, we're all sharing different family recipes that we love, and we all know we're cooking a lot more than usual. So it's a fun way to get to know our colleagues even while we're apart. Another community that you might belong to are various hobbies. So a lot of gyms are hosting free live stream fitness classes from the instructors' living rooms or backyards, wherever they are. So that's a great way to stay connected to your fitness community. There are also, for marathoners and runners, a lot of people are obviously having to cancel those marathons and runs, but they're doing a virtual run. So you can still stay competitive with your fellow running community. And then my aunt and my mother-in-law have been, one of their hobbies is sewing. And so they've been working with a group to get materials to sew face masks for people who need it. So just think about different ways that the communities that you belong to, you can either stay connected to them virtually or in an unplugged way. So with that, let's go back to the chat. My question for you is, how have you connected with your communities during social distancing? So I'm looking at the chat. What are some ways? Oh, okay. So donating fabric to a friend who sews, coffee breaks together. Yeah, I have a lunch date with a couple coworkers tomorrow on Zoom. Virtual happy hours. Yep, you can still cheers to the weekend, even though I don't know the difference between the weekend and weekdays. Let's see. What did I see up here? A family lip sync video. Okay, you might have to share that, Betsy. That sounds super fun. Lunch walks with neighbors, sitting on your porch. Yeah, we've done the same. We've sat out in our front yard, and other neighbors who we didn't know sat out in their front yards, and we got to know each other. Driveway happy hour with neighbors. Awesome. So you all have a ton of ideas of how you can reach out to your communities, seek out your communities. And so now it's just about taking that initiative, not being too shy, and making sure that we're taking the initiative to reach out to the people that we care about, because connection is more important now than ever. So what I want you to do is I'm going to start this 1-minute timer. You're either going to go to that blank piece of paper, or you're going to go to that Google Doc or Word document, and you're going to have 1 minute to write down your personal commitment. What is one community that you will seek out or build yourself? And what will it look like to engage with that community? All right. So this is just independent reflection time. You're either writing it on your paper or writing it in your blank Google document. I'm going to start that minute now, and Sister Sledge is going to sing as we write. That is our time. So that is your first personal commitment for how-to number 1. We are now moving into how-to number 2, which is get the most out of those virtual meetings and meetups. Let's talk about ways we can do that. Before we do, we're going to go to a quick poll everywhere. Kiki will share that link in the chat right now. You will take that link and it will take you to a poll everywhere, and you're going to click on the map, the place where you were born. So Kiki has added the link. Thank you so much, Kiki. Go ahead, copy and paste that link into your browser. And let's see, I'm going to switch over to that live feed on Poll Everywhere. Let's see where everyone was born. So you're just going to click on the location. I clicked on Rhode Island. That's where I was born. I don't remember it. I didn't live there very long, but I hear it's beautiful. All right, looks like some local folks, Colorado, Denver area. Okay, Washington, Midwest. I wonder if there's anyone international. Let's see. Okay, Washington. Oh, okay, there we go. All over the map. Very cool. A lot of Northeast folks, California. Awesome.
Ashford, we're also getting a couple in the chat, which is awesome. So I
Oh,
see Oklahoma, Alaska, Belize, Trinidad, India, St. Lucia. Amazing.
wow. Oh, this is so cool. I love it. That's what's so unique about this time is we're connecting with people we otherwise wouldn't. And so I'm so fascinated to find out where everyone's coming from. Okay, so that is just one thing that you can do if you're hosting a virtual class or a virtual meeting. You can use platforms like Poll Everywhere, and there are other platforms that I've listed in your toolkit where you can engage with people in different unique ways and find out more about them. Oh my goodness, Alaska, very cool. All right, so let's get back to it. So again, that's Poll Everywhere. It's a great tool. It's not just geography, but you can ask a number of different questions. So let's talk first about the logistics and norms that will help you get the most out of your virtual meetings, meetups, and classes. The first one is, and this is a personal favorite, just make it the norm that people turn on their videos. No shame if you're in your jammies or you haven't washed your hair in a couple days. It's just nice to see faces, and so much of human communication happens through facial expression. So make sure that people just know it's the norm that we turn on our cameras when we get together virtually. Secondly, have people use the chat. I mean, you guys are pros at it, clearly. And it's a great way. People text, people G-chat, IM, whatever, all the time. They're used to that form of communication. And so make the chat really engaging, make it a conversation. It's a great place for people to connect, chime in without kind of disrupting the flow of a virtual meeting or class. So just make it the norm that people engage with the chat, and you'll probably have to set the stage by modeling that yourself at first. For Zoom, at least, a great tool is breakout rooms. It's if you have a huge group of people, or maybe just more than 8 or so, and you need to break people into smaller groups for discussion, you can have people go to breakout rooms and then they can have those smaller group interactions. Also, letting people know your availability. So if you use Google, you can set the settings that show very clearly when you're available or when you're busy, so that folks know when they can hop onto a Hangout or a video call or bother you with a question. Additionally, and this is also linked in your toolkit, Calendly is a great tool. It syncs up to your calendar, and when you share the link to your Calendly, people can see your availability and when they can sign up for a quick chat or meeting, what have you. That's also free, so think about how you can use either of those tools so that people know your availability. Cold calls, a little bit of a negative connotation, but you have to make sure that there's a little bit of accountability when you're having those meetings or classes, that people are listening to each other. It's so easy to have another tab open on the low and be typing something or responding to that email. And so if you just set the norm that as the facilitator of this meeting or class, I might cold call you to share, then people are going to have to be on their toes and listening. So this little guy, he is very much in a rush, right? When we join our virtual meetings, meetups, classes, let people have a moment to arrive. Give them a moment to check in, share their name or where they're from on the chat, talk to their coworker or their classmate. Just give people a moment to arrive so that they're in the right mental space before you dig into the work or your meeting agenda. You've seen me do this. I love to have background music. I think it keeps energy up. So think about ways that you can have music as people arrive, or if they're doing a little bit of independent work, you can have it playing in the background. And feedback. Feedback is crucial. I'll be asking all of you for your feedback after this virtual meeting. And so if you are the leader of a class or a virtual meeting or meetup, ask folks for feedback. It'll make you better and it will make sure that you're empowering every voice. So now let's talk about how we can better connect and have fun during those virtual meetings and meetups. One thing you can do, and I saw this mentioned in the chat, is schedule a lunch date or schedule a coffee date. Or if you're a teacher, schedule that lunch bunch that you loved so much with different kids. So even if you're not in the same room, you can still set those social dates on your calendars and see each other virtually on Zoom or Google Hangouts. Maybe you could have a theme to your virtual meeting or class. So here, the teacher had students bring a pet to their virtual class that they could show to their classmates. At my work at MindSpark, at our last virtual happy hour, we all had to wear something ridiculous. So it was really fun to sit down at the computer and see all the silly things everyone was wearing. Make sure you're setting aside time for team builders and icebreakers. These types of things happen really organically and naturally when we're in the building. We can connect and have those one-off conversations. That's a lot harder now. And so it's even more important to set aside that space and time for that opportunity to connect with our team or our classmates. Set aside time for fun things. So whether that's a happy hour or a workout class or a trivia, this is also linked in your toolkit. It's called Goose Chase. It's virtual scavenger hunts where you can participate remotely. There are some that are already created that you can just use with your group, or you can create your own. So just a fun way to do something a little bit out of the box while we're remote. Make sure you're celebrating and shouting people out. These two screenshots are from some former colleagues of mine in New Jersey. They're doing so much to pump kids up for showing up for their attendance or completing their exit tickets, and they're putting it on blast on their social media or their class website. So figure out ways that you can celebrate people. We're all kind of feeling like we don't know if we know what to do. We don't feel like the experts that we usually do. We might be feeling defeated. And so the more that we can pump people up and celebrate the small wins, the better they'll feel and the stronger our community will be. And I already mentioned House Party, but you could definitely incorporate some games into your virtual meetings using something like House Party. So I want you to go to the chat again. You all have amazing ideas. I've already seen them roll in. What are some other ideas that you have to connect and have fun during virtual meetings, classes, and meetups? So I'm checking out the chat. Board games, yes, very fun. I'm doing a family game night with my in-laws tomorrow. Should be fun. Kahoot is such a fun, I should add that to the toolkit. Thank you for reminding me that, Brooke. Charades, show and tell, yes. Lots of things to show and tell these days, right? Awesome, making a theme for Monday's props or accessories, lots of games. Okay, great. So keep those ideas rolling in. We're learning from one another in this virtual community. Oh, Spirit Week, very cool. Crazy Hair Day. Oh my gosh, there are too many good ideas. So keep them coming. There are tons of ways to connect and have fun. We might have to, step out of our comfort zones and be a little more vulnerable and a little sillier, but it'll make people smile and it'll make us feel connected during this difficult time. So we're going to go back to that piece of paper or that blank Word document. This is your time to commit to one commitment. What is one thing that you will do to get the most out of your online meetings? I'm going to start that timer, and you're going to start your individual writing now. Nice. So you wrote down that second commitment. Let's move to how-to number 3, which is over-communicate. And I love this quote. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. I know that resonates with me. I'll be like, I know I definitely explained that. And the other person is like, no, you didn't. And that's on me. Obviously, the right amount of communication did not happen. So I was participating in a webinar and the facilitator said this: all of us have lost the running conversations that make up any organization's culture. And that's so true. So we have to think of ways that we can continue to communicate and even what we might consider over communicate to stay connected. So let's talk about ways we can do that. One idea is to set up a virtual water cooler. You can do that on a place called pinup.com. You could add a Slack channel. You could even make it a running Google document if you don't want to get too fancy, but just a place where people can either ask a question about how people's days are or add silly memes or pictures of their day. Just think about a place where people can still stay connected via that virtual water cooler. Secondly, what's your digital smile? Lots of times written communication without, a lot of emojis or exclamation points can be read in a monotone or negative tone. So even if it's not your personal style, try to add in a few more exclamation points, a few more emojis, a few more silly images into your written communication so that people know that you do have a positive tone and they can read it with the best intent. It might be small, but it goes a long way. Secondly, make sure that you're checking in with people. So whether it's a Google form of just, is there anything you want to share with me? Or it's a quick text to your colleagues or your teammates, how are you doing today? Make sure that you're prioritizing those daily check-ins so that people feel connected to you. Linger longer. If you're running an online class, online meeting, and your schedule allows it, I recommend adding about 10 minutes buffer to before the meeting or class starts and after the meeting or class starts. That way, there's more of an opportunity to check in informally, to see how folks are doing, to answer any questions that might not have otherwise been answered during that set agenda time. This is also in your toolkit, but a really strong example of housing information in one centralized place. So if it's a school or a club or a workplace, think about where are you housing information so that people can access it easily. You'll see this example from KIPP, New Jersey. They have an excellent built-out website with lots of frequently asked questions and linked resources so that families, students, and teachers can all go there as a resource. And then think about who are those more vulnerable people in your life, whether that be someone who's elderly, who lives alone, who's immunocompromised, a healthcare worker. How are you going out of your way and going the extra mile to check in with those folks who need us more now than ever? So let's do a commitment again. And we're not going to do the whole minute this time, but go ahead and write down either who is one person that you'll reach out to or one thing that you will do to over communicate. So I'm going to start the timer. We'll just do 30 seconds this time. One person you'll reach out to or one way that you will over communicate. All right, awesome. So now you have 3 commitments. We're moving to our 4th and final how-to, which is spread kindness and share resources, but don't share germs. Wash those hands. So I'm going to give you a few examples of ways that I've seen people be kind and share during this difficult time to make sure we're staying connected to our community. So the first one is thank you hour. I don't know if you've seen it on Instagram or even heard your neighbors hoop and holler around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., but it's a really fun way to show appreciation to our healthcare workers and people on the front lines, and also just to feel connected to the people around us who are cheering out their windows or their doors. So tonight, think about stepping out around 7 or 8 p.m. and cheering for those important folks during thank you hour. I was taking a walk with my husband in our neighborhood, and somebody, I don't know who it is writing a lot of positive encouragement on sidewalks with sidewalk chalk. So that could be a fun way if you have kids or you're working with students, you could have them write, some sort of affirmation on their neighborhood sidewalk just to put a smile on someone's face as they walk by. Additionally, there are a lot of opportunities to either volunteer or support mutual aid groups. I've linked a number of those lists and groups in your toolkit, so you can feel free to peruse, but there are a lot of opportunities to either donate or make masks or do some grocery shopping for someone who's a little bit more vulnerable, or to support our healthcare workers. So if you have the capacity, you have the time, you have the resources, think about how you can spread that kindness and share. It'll make you feel better just as much as it will the person that you're helping. And then this is a video of a principal who decided to bring a smile to her kids' faces when she found out her school was going remote.
Now, this is a story all about how our lives got turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how virtual learning can be done from anywhere.
So that goes on, and I've linked it because I know you all want to watch the rest. But if you are usually shy or a little more introverted, and you are the leader of some sort of community, it is now time to step outside of that comfort zone, be a little bit silly, and put smiles on people's faces, just like this principal did. We need to smile and laugh now more than ever. Lastly, I'll add just grace over grades or grace over anything. If you're not here as an educator or school leader, we have to prioritize grace before we can prioritize accountability, deliverables, deadlines, and things like that. We are in this very strange experience of collective trauma, and we don't know what other people are going through. So just keep that in mind, grace over anything. And lastly, think about how you could leverage things like Facebook groups. So maybe it's for the families of the students in your class, maybe it's for the folks in your neighborhood or your club or your trivia team. It's a great way to share pictures, posts, updates with people that you care about on a virtual space. So let's write down that last commitment. Let's take 30 seconds. How will you show kindness and share during social distancing? Write down your last commitment for 30 seconds. Awesome, and I'm seeing some great ideas showing up in the chat as well. I love it. Sharing is caring. So 30 minutes flew by, oh my goodness. Just so you know, to put on your radar, if you're interested in learning more about social emotional learning and social emotional health, MindSpark does have an opportunity coming up in June. It will be a 2-day virtual institute all about building resilient and empathetic classrooms through social emotional learning. It's for pre-K through grade 12 educators, leaders, and supporting staff. Kiki has added the link to registration, or if you'd like to learn more, in the chat. But we just want to continue to share with you opportunities that we're offering so that we can best support you. We unfortunately don't have time for breakout rooms, sad. But I do have time to collect your feedback. This was my first time facilitating this content, and it probably won't be the last. So any and all feedback is welcome. I'm going to show you a quick video about how you will submit your feedback to me right here. To complete our feedback survey, you'll go to the link. You'll select your facilitator, which is me, Ashford. Then you'll answer a couple quick questions and click submit. All right, so wonderful Kiki has added the link to the chat. Please take just 2 minutes of your time to leave your feedback for me. I so appreciate you all being here. The ideas that are rolling in are incredible. Again, my email is here, ashford@mymindsparklearning.org. I'm available if you need me. Please reach out. Don't be shy. And additionally, MindSpark is continuing to build out our online toolkit in support of you during this difficult time. So take a look there. Otherwise, once you do your feedback and you've submitted, we are all done. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I went over by 2 minutes, but that's not that bad.